My brief was to create the titles and opening of a new fiction film to last a maximum of 2 minutes. I have made a Certificate 15 crime/action film called The Heist. I decided to create a film of this genre after analysing the results of my questionnaire. I found that 89% of the people that answered my questionnaire said that they would be tempted to watch a new crime-action film. Democratisation and digitisation of the film industry has allowed me to create my media product because it has made hardware and software more accessible to me. For example, the media department was able to provide cameras and tripods to be used for filming, which emphasises how accessible the industry has become. I did not use the department's hardware. Instead, I chose to use my own equipment, as I felt I can manipulate this better to suit my filming ability. I created my media product using Apple Mac computers, which have a variety of editing software, such as LiveType and Final Cut. All coursework showing progress throughout my task has been uploaded to Tumblr, a social networking site. Having previously used this site, I already knew how to use it at a basic level. However, I have now learnt to use it at a more advanced level by creating separate pages on my blog for my media glossary and also by uploading audio and video footage. Tumblr serves as a good example of convergence. In my research and planning for this task, I relied heavily on the internet, specifically using YouTube and Vimeo to research several examples of opening sequences and titles. I also used Box Office Mojo to research into statistics that would relate to my product. For example, I researched the top 10 films of the year to see what genres were popular. I then compared this information with statistics from previous years. When creating a mood board to generate ideas for my film, I used Google to find images and colour schemes that would adhere to my genre. Further, I made a PowerPoint presentation that I presented to my class, which showcased my initial ideas for my product. From this, I received constructive criticism that allowed me to make informed changes to my narrative. I have also found Pete's media blog helpful, as it gives tips for all areas of media. In particular, the production tips were extremely useful when it came to filming, as I had very limited experience of this, previously only having filmed my preliminary task. During production, I used 2 Canon EOS 7D SLR cameras. During filming, I learnt that changing the ISO and f-stop would create more or less light when filming a location. I tried to keep the ISO as low as possible, as the more I raised it, the grainier the image became. Due to this, I didn't push the ISO to more than 800. I also learnt that the lower the f-stop, the more light the camera lets in. This camera allowed me to shoot footage in lower light situations, which was helpful when filming the interrogation scene in my garage. This was filmed in the evening with no natural lighting. A higher ISO and lower f-stop was necessary. Further, a lower f-stop also creates a shallower depth of field. This was useful for close-ups, as it allowed me to focus on a character or object without having any distracting mise-en-scène in the shot. Post-production, I used LiveType alongside Dafont.com to create titles for my distribution company, my production company, my character titles, and the title of my film. My distribution company is called Expedition Studios, and to create this I downloaded the font Skyfall from Dafont.com into LiveType and then added a shaky effect to it that lasts for 3 seconds. I paired the title with an image of a compass I chose from Google Images for the clear link that they have. I added a behind camera effect on this image so that it zooms out slowly and falls into place in the centre behind the text. Hence its name, this font is similar to the font used in the title of the James Bond film. Due to this, my distribution title can be seen as an example of intertextuality. This feature emphasises the action genre, giving hints to the genre of my film right at the beginning. I created my production company title with a font called Channel. I set a type effect across all of the text, and then a separate effect called Experience, specifically on the name of the company, Jordan Productions. to give it a glow which makes it stand out. All three of my character titles follow the same format for continuity. I use the travelling typewriter font with a strange appearance effect to create the illusion that the text is being typed. The final title I created was for the name of my film. On this title, I used the travelling typewriter font with a shaky effect. I also used the sign-off effect on the last second of the title as a means to end my opening sequence. I used these specific fonts and effects along with a black and white colour scheme to anchor the crime action genre of my film, making it instantly recognisable to the audience. I used Final Cut Express to edit my footage. I had to import my titles from LiveType into the software and then import my footage in. Having chosen all of my footage, I began to edit it. Firstly, I used the cut tool to delete any unnecessary footage. I then used an overlay effect on an area of footage showing character Detective Parker in his office at home. I used this effect to create a tense atmosphere and emphasise his stress. I used several fade in and out effects to link the titles to the footage, and I also used this effect to fade from non-diegetic sound to the diegetic dialogue of the interrogation scene. Further, I adjusted the diegetic sound to make it clearer by applying the normalization grain. I found the non-diegetic music for my opening sequence on YouTube. I searched for suspenseful music and found what I was looking for with the beauty theme. Once I had found this piece of music, I had to ask the permission of the person that owned it so as to not break any copyright laws. After receiving permission to use this piece of music, I had to convert the YouTube video into an MP3 file. I did this using video to mp3.net. This MP3 file was then accessible from my iTunes to be imported into Final Cut. To conclude, I have learned a lot about the technologies from the process of constructing this media product. Mostly, I have learned how to manipulate hardware and software to create the effects that I wanted for my opening sequence. I learnt this through trial and error and also from tips that I found on the internet.